Hey friends, so today we're going to dive into what it looks like to set up and process your notes with the Zettelkasten Method inside of the app mymind. We're going to cover a brief overview of the Zettelkasten Method, then we're going to cover how to create a smart space so that you can quickly access the Zettels that you've captured that day, and then we're going to go over how to connect your ideas with macro tags and micro tags. Now before we hop in, I did want to give you a free gift for hanging out with me today. This is my free guide on how to take book notes and get those insights into your personal knowledge management system. By the end of the guide, you'll have a simple system for highlighting your physical books, a mindful approach for adding content to your second brain or your personal knowledge management system, and then a process for creating building blocks of knowledge for the future. And lastly, a simple tip for making more connections inside of your personal knowledge management system. If you want to check that out, the link is in the description below. All right, so what is the Zettelkasten Method? Maybe you've heard about this, or maybe this is your first time hearing about it. It's a note-taking system created by the German sociologist Niklas Luhmann. The dude was prolific, and he wrote a ton of books, ton of articles, and he attributed his prolificness, if that's a word, to this note-taking system. Now, Zettelkasten is two words, Zettel and Kasten. Zettel meaning note, and then Kasten meaning box. So literally this dude had index cards that he put inside of a box, and he had a special way of organizing them. But I'm going to show you what it looks like to have a visual Zettelkasten with mymind. I wanted to read this quote to you from the book How to Take Smart Notes, talking about the benefits of the Zettelkasten. Check this out. It says, Niklas Luhmann, but he collected his notes in his slipbox in such a way that the collection became much more than the sum of its parts. His slipbox became his dialogue partner, his main idea generator, and productivity engine. I don't know about you, but I'm like, sign me up. I'm ready. Let's do this. It helped him to structure and develop his thoughts, and it was fun to work with because it worked. Now, after reading that, my takeaway is that this system helps you clarify and develop your thinking, which ultimately leads to expressing your thoughts and your findings, and a lot of the times it's through writing, okay? And the way that this is done, simplified version, is basically you capture interesting ideas in your own words, you review those thoughts and ideas daily, and you make connections between your ideas. And this eventually leads to those connections turning into pieces of writing for someone else to benefit from. So that is Zettelkasten in a nutshell. Let's move on to how to set up a smart space so that you can access these notes that you're capturing with one click. All right, so we are in mymind, and the first thing we're going to do is set up the smart space so that we can access the Zettels. You can see I already have today's Zettels. I've already set it up. But if we're doing this from scratch, what we need to do is go up to the search bar and start typing today. You can search by time base in mymind, which is great. Then we want to turn this into a deep search because we don't want to just see all of the notes that I've taken today. I may have saved articles and web pages and books throughout the day, and I don't need to see those because I've not actually consumed those yet. What I want to actually see is what I've consumed and what I have written my thoughts about. So with that said, after today, we want to not see books. So I want to hit minus books and then hit enter. And then I want to also not see articles. So minus articles, enter. Minus web, nope, not iWeb. Minus web pages, enter. Now, I believe this is everything. Yeah. So I have a deep search here with today, and with no books, no articles, and no web pages. Okay, so I can, on the right hand side, hit Save Smart Space. You can name this whatever you want. I named mine today's Zettel. That's not right. Zettels. And then next step, choose a color, finish and save. And now it takes me directly into the space. This is now a space. Now, if I go to the Everything tab at the top right-hand corner, now I have 2 today's Zettels, but it'll show up as 1 for you in this area here, whatever you named it. Okay, so we've got that taken care of. Now we're going to move on to how does it actually work? And I want to show you an example from today of how I captured a few things and turned those into literature and permanent notes, which we'll get into those in just a second. All right, so the first thing is, obviously, we need to capture ideas throughout the day. All right, this includes the notes and highlights from articles and books, quotes from articles and books, podcasts and conversations that you have with other people. You are capturing all the things that you are noticing throughout the day and that resonate with you. And all of that is going to magically appear into today's Zettels because of the way that we set up the smart space for today's Zettels. So today I was on my walk and I noticed the beautiful sunrise. So I snapped a picture and I added it to my mind within a few clicks. If you want to watch a video on how to add things to your mind on mobile, I have a video for that if you want to check it out. So I snapped the pic, and at that point, after I've captured something, you can either review it at the end of the day if you want to, or if you're in the moment and you're like, let me go ahead and just process this right now, you can do that. So I was on my walk and I figured, why not go ahead and process this note? Now, when I say process the note, I'm talking about writing in your own words what it is that resonates with you. Okay, so let's look at the image here. This is the image that I took of the sunrise this morning. I don't have a way to add notes here, but on the right-hand side under Mind Notes, I can add notes. And this is also, it supports Markdown. So in addition to in the note area of an actual note, on the Mind Note section right here, it also supports Markdown. Okay. Now I started jotting down some ideas and thoughts about what I was seeing in the moment. Okay. So, God created the sunrise and the sunsets to come up every morning, and then that doesn't change. It's the same materials, if you want to call it that. There's always, not always, but there can be clouds. There's the sun, there's the sky. Like, that's it. And yet it's wildly different every day. Which led me to this thought, what can I create that's new, but with the exact same materials that I have at my disposal and in my hands every single day. In other words, the limitation is not in my imagination. The limitation is in the resources, but that's okay because I can do a lot with that. And then I had a new thought that was related to this thought, but it wasn't quite inside of the same thought bubble, if you want to call it that, in the card. So I thought I need to create a new note for this. And as I was on my walk, I just went over to the new note, add a new note on mobile, of course, and I started typing out a new note, which happened to be this note right here. God creates something new every day and shares it with the world. Like talking about the sunrise and the sunset, like why shouldn't I'm made in his image. So I am a creator as well, and I can create and release things every day. Now on my walk, I actually brought a book with me. I usually have a book that I've already read and have highlights in, and I will go through the book as I'm walking and look at the highlights to see what's standing out to me and if I want to write down any notes or ideas on what I'm reading. So I happen to bring the book Show Your Work by Austin Kleon with me. And I'm going through the book and the highlights, and I ended up landing on the chapter on releasing something small every day, which happened to be go perfect with the train of thought that I was already on with the sunrise. Okay. So I took a picture here, you can see it, of a quote: "Put yourself and your work out there every day and you'll start meeting some amazing people." This aligned with what I was thinking about with the sunrise of the, releasing and creating things every day. But this has a different spin on it, right? And so I jotted down a note of creating and releasing your work over here on the Mind Notes can cultivate connection. This is another aspect of releasing your work every day and creating every day. And then I took a picture as well of this quote here, or more of a highlight underline that I had, where he's talking about a body of work takes a long time. You don't need that time all in one big chunk, right? So instead of decades and years and all that stuff, just focus on days. And so I started jotting down, it takes months to build a house, but the building, the action, the verb happens in days, one brick at a time. So what bricks will I lay today? That's the question I wanted to ask myself when I visit this note again. What bricks or brick can I lay today to continue building the body of creative work that I am called to build? If I back up a little bit here, I have captured some of these notes, several notes. I've taken pictures, I've written down notes, and then I have rewritten, or I have wrote down my thoughts inside of the note, whether it's actually a note like this one, or it's a picture of a highlight, and I actually wrote my notes inside of the mind notes. By the way, all of the mind notes are searchable, right? So when I actually am using the search in my mind, it not only will search all of the content inside of this image, it will also search the tags and also the mind notes and the title. So, which leads me to my next point, is after you've added your thoughts, then you add titles. When it's a note, an actual type of note, right? I actually will use the H1. So just hashtag and hit space and it'll turn into an H1. I do that because as I'm scrolling through, I want to be able to easily see what the title is. So I can use that there, but I can also put it in the title where it says title goes here. But you'll notice that it's kind of small, right? Now this is a visual app, so the focus and the prominence is the visuals, not necessarily the titles of the notes. That's fine, but if I want to be able to scan, I need to see, and I like to see the bigger titles. So add titles, specific titles to your notes, whether it's an H1 like this or actually in the title spot of each card. Then I moved on to tagging. Now, I use tags to identify three things. Number one, the type of note it is. Is it a spark, a literature note, or a permanent note? I'll go into those in just a second. And then number two is the collections or collection it relates to. These are also known as macro tags. And then the third thing is other notes that this note that I'm looking at or will be looking at, how does it relate to other notes, which are, I can use micro tags to group these notes. And I'll show you how to do that. This tagging method gives me 3 filters to view these notes. And each filter helps me see the notes bump up against other notes in different ways. So let's start with the type of note. Now, three different types: fleeting, literature, and permanent. The fleeting note is what I would call a spark note. And spark notes are the ideas that you get while you're on a walk, while you're in the shower, while you're talking to a friend. In this case, for me, it was the sunrise image. Okay? I wasn't consuming anything when I had this thought. I just snapped a pic and wrote something down. Then we move on to a literature note. This is a note written in your own words after consuming something, after you're reading a book, an article, listening to a podcast, watching a video. The picture of the quote here, put yourself and your work out there every day. This is an example of a literature note. Okay, so I would tag this literature note. And then I have permanent notes. So these are from the literature and spark notes. And they usually have one idea. They're written down in your own words and they're polished and they're almost like they're for you in the future or for someone else, right? So they could be the start of an atomic essay or a blog post. That's how polished these permanent notes should be. And after considering it, I felt like the sunrise over here, the sunrise picture and the thoughts that I had with it was moving from a spark into a permanent note. So I've tagged it as a permanent note, and I can remove the spark because it's no longer in that stage, if you want to call it that. Now you can create spaces for your literature and permanent notes if you want to, and your sparks. So I have spaces already created. To do that, you just need to hit hashtag, and then literature note is what I've called the tag, and then I hit enter. And then when I hit enter, I'll follow the same steps. I hit save spark space, and then I name it, and then I add a color and hit finish and save. Okay, same for permanent notes. Whatever the name of the tag is, if you just want to name it permanent or literature, it's up to you how you want to name the tag, but that's how you would create the space so that you can easily access these here. It's almost like, with Niklas Luhmann, he had the physical boxes for a literature note and a physical box for a permanent note or notes. And so I can, in a digital way, I can like jump into this box within a click, right? Or I can jump into permanent notes with a click. So it's a really cool way to use spaces with the Zettelkasten method. All right, so we're gonna move on to collections. So adding your notes to collections. These are also known as macro tags. Collections for me are the umbrella topics that I'm interested in. For example, 3 big ones that I have are writing, creativity, and personal knowledge management, or PKM for short. With the Zettelkasten method, the idea is to not only focus on what topic this is directly related to, it's actually more about in what context would you want to run into the note again. Okay, so the note clearly may be about writing, or it may clearly be like a picture of strawberries, and so you might say this is categorized as fruit, right? But in this case, you would want to actually think about, where would I want to see this picture again? If I have a picture of strawberries, I may be able to somehow tie that into writing with some thoughts. So I would actually tag that with writing. And that's how you would want to think about tagging and adding your notes to what I call collections or macro tags. Now, there's 2 ways to find and add macro tags. The first way is to add the collections that you're intuitively thinking of. Going back to the sunrise, I added the tags creativity. I'm going to come over here. Creativity and the creative process and writing, and also sharing ideas. These are more umbrella tags for me. And then the quote that I took a picture of, it's the same, right? I have creativity, the creative process. Now you notice I actually did create a tag for show your work. This is the title of the book. I personally like to have the note with the title of the book, because if somebody asks me, hey, what are your thoughts on this book? I can come directly to show your work in this case and see all the notes that I have for this. If I want to get specific on things that really resonated with me. Now, so the other way is to browse your tags to see what other collections you might want to add this note to. Because again, you can add as many tags as you want. So if I want to do that, I can open up a new tab, go to My Mind, and then on the left-hand side, under the settings, and under your mind tags, you can hit Manage Tags. And there's 2 tabs here. There's your tags, and then there's AI tags. You can actually look at both of these, but I would start with your tags. Excuse me. So if I want to, I can have these side by side here. Side by side. All right, so I can look at the note that I had, like the sunrise picture here, and I can go through and I can see, okay, where would I want to stumble across this sunrise picture again? Maybe it's under product design, right? And so I could add product design here. I can go through these and add the tags that I would want to come across this note again. Okay, so we've got one more step, but I want to recap. Let me close this. So I've captured the notes, right? I've wrote down my thoughts in my own words. I gave the notes a title. I tagged with the type of note, which is the spark, the literature, or the permanent note. And then I've tagged with macro tags, the big umbrella topics. Now it's time to move to linking the notes together by using micro tags. Now, as of this video, bidirectional linking is not a thing with mymind. However, I do believe they're actually working towards that, which will be great. But in the meantime, this micro tag actually works pretty well. Basically, how it works is I want to see the other notes that I find that are related to the original note. If I go back to the sunrise note, I want to find the notes that are related to that and then think of a word or a phrase, a unique word or a phrase that kind of creates a bridge for all of them, right? And so in this case, as I was thinking about it, the phrase, the daily drip, came to my mind. So you notice on the right-hand side, I have the daily drip tagged already here. And this is tagged for a few of these notes. Right here, the daily drip. There was another note. Where is it? Oh, this one. The daily drip. So I have added the tag, the unique tag, a micro tag. It's very specific to all the cards that are that it's related to. So now when I go up here and I search for the tag, the daily drip, and hit enter, it's going to give me all these ideas and images in this case. This is why it's so cool. Like with mymind, it's not just text that I'm looking at. I'm looking at images and pictures of quotes and pictures of highlights and actual notes and all that stuff. And it's just, for me, it's visually, it visually kind of wakes you up. And it's just cool to see all of this at once. So if I wanted to, I could take some of these or all of them and start piecing together the ideas that I jotted down in all of these and create a blog post on the benefits of releasing every day and call it the daily drip or something like that. That's where the Zettelkasten comes into play or the benefit of the Zettelkasten is it really helps you to actually be productive with your notes and the insights that you come across. It's not just a graveyard of ideas that just sit and you never see them again. You're constantly interacting with them. Like I said in the beginning of this video with that quote, it's a dialogue partner, a productivity engine. And this is how it actually plays out. Sometimes a word or a phrase, it doesn't come to you right away, right? So some of the things that you can do to help with that is actually start looking for the notes that are related inside of your mind. So if I wanted to do that, I would open up a new tab, get this in split window here again, and then I would open up the note that I was looking at here and how it relates to other notes. And I would start searching in my mind. I can search for things that are just come to my mind immediately. When I jot something down, or when you jot something down, usually your brain is already working to be like, this reminds me of, and then you can finish the sentence and then start typing. This reminds me of flowers. I type it and instantly I'm, taken to all the flowers that I have taken, or the pictures of flowers or whatever. Right? And so I can then, I can look at these notes or these images, and then I can start thinking, okay, how does this note, daily creations with the same three materials, and this note or this image, how does it relate? Right? What is it about these that I can bridge together? And it may be actually, I took these outside, obviously outside. I took these, on my walk. And no, I'm not a photographer at all. I just like pictures of flowers. But the idea is that I was just thinking about is, there is a sweet spot for me personally when I'm outside in nature where I get more ideas. So I could take these two and create a new tag that is something like create in nature or something like that, right? And so all of a sudden, these two now have something in common, and I have a tag to name them so that I can see so that I can see all the stuff that's in common with, creating in nature or something like that. All right. What's cool with mymind is that I can do and or searches now. So if I want to see all of my notes on creativity and that's with the two lines there, and then I do flowers and hit enter. Now I can see all of the notes that have the word creativity and the text and the title and the tags, and then also flowers, images of flowers. And this will include, all of my articles and stuff too. So if I wanted to start reading an article, I could jump into this article, and then I could relate these two notes and think of a tag that relates them and add the tag to both of the notes. So you can see how, you can get creative with it and really easily find the ideas that go together, and then be able to name those ideas with one micro tag. I can create a space for the daily drip. If this is something where the daily drip, let's see, this color. So if I'm constantly, like, if maybe it's a project that I'm working on, right, and I want to be able to easily get to the daily drip, I can create a space for it, and bam, it's right there. All right, well, I hope this video was helpful. I appreciate you sticking with me. If you are still with me at this point, I want you to drop a comment below with your thoughts. What did you like? What would you do differently? What ideas do you have? What are you thinking about right now? Let's start a conversation. And until next time, keep capturing ideas and keep creating, my friend.